How can fear affect you? Most of the times we're affected negatively. But if we have faith, fear should make us trust more in the Lord. What can fear make you do? Sometimes it can make us think negatively and act the wrong way. Sometimes we lose our sleep because of fear. We cannot think well. And sometimes we lose our faith in God. We lose our foresight. We don't see God working in the future. We tend to be pessimistic. We say the wrong things. We get hot-headed. We make the wrong decisions. How about the opposite? How can faith help you out deal with difficult situations, especially when you are fearful? Faith can help you call upon the Lord. Faith can help you humble yourself before the Lord and submit your situation to Him and trust Him that He will help you out. And faith can help you make the right decisions. Today we will be discussing about the David Saga Part 13, when fear drives you to faithless and risky action. David seeks refuge again from among the Philistines. Because this happened in 1 Samuel chapter 21, now as we go to chapter 28, we see David doing the same thing again. This chapter could be difficult to understand. It's because the author was careful sort of not to condemn David for this action that he did. As a messenger right now, I have to give an interpretation if this story is taken positively or negatively. So, basing it from the title, you obviously know that I am taking this as a negative action of David. We know that all leaders are flawed, except for the Lord Jesus Christ. So when the author was trying to show this faithlessness that David had, he was careful not to paint David in a very bad way, especially that he would become the future king. So what we can see here from the chapter as we study this, the author does not make any judgment about this action of David, that is running toward the Philistines for refuge, whether it is good or bad. However, the author will tell us what the think of King of David was. So that's why I interpret this action of David as faithless and a risky action. So the title really explains it there. Okay, so he went to Gath, to King Achish. And we can still see God working to protect David while he was in the Philistine territory. And that is very good. So we will get some lesson from that part of it. So David was also very close to fighting his very own people. That's what we will find out in chapter 29. Until God provisionally pulled him out of the war. And that's the wonderful thing about what happened in our story. So be careful not to use this story as a model for your decision and actions, because again, this is a bad move that David did. Our leaders also have weaknesses and they make mistakes. And so we have to be understanding of David, why he did what he actually did, right? So the lesson that I want us to learn this evening is trust in the Lord for your protection if you have faithlessly put yourself at risk. And I guess all of us have done this several times. Acknowledge your foolishness and still trust in God to sustain and deliver you from the bad thing that you have done or the risk that you have put yourself. Only you to be blamed for that. Okay? First lesson is do not decide and act based on fear. Of course, we always should be basing our decisions on faith in the Lord. So this will be the first 7 verses of chapter 27. David runs to the Philistines again to secure himself from King Shaul. So let's look at what happened in the story. Verse 1. But David thought to himself, one of these days, I will be destroyed by the hand of Shaul. So remember our lesson last week. It happened again that Shaul was running after David. And he was wondering, why is Shaul after me again? So David is concerned that this will happen for the third time, fourth time, nth time. So he thought to himself this matter. The best thing I can do is to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Shaul will give up searching for me anywhere in Israel, and I will slip out of his hand. So do you think verse 1 is true? That one of these days he would be destroyed? No, I think no, because God had a plan for him, that he would soon be the king of Israel. David would not be destroyed by Shaul. So, come to think of it, what happened to the faith of Shaul at this time? Maybe, compared to chapter 26, when his spirits was high, he was able to get ahead of Shaul. before even Shaul threatened his life, he was able to sort of threaten the life of Shaul, but of course he did not kill his king. He was thinking that one of these days he could be caught off guard. So what happened to his faith? I think at this time his faith was winding down. When the hype is over, sometimes the emotions also get low and we think that things could happen bad again. Was Shaul a real threat to David? Maybe. We don't know actually what David knew about that. The future king, I believe, thought that it could be the case. Look at the three scenarios that David had in mind. The best thing I can do is to escape. So he was predicting a gloomy future if he doesn't escape. And then Shaul will give up searching if that is the case. So he was planning to avoid the gloomy future. And the only way to avoid that gloomy future if he goes to the Philistine territory. And he said, I will slip out of his hand. So there is hope for him if he does these things. Now, do you think David was overthinking here or overreacting the fact that he wanted to go to the Philistine territory? Maybe so. Maybe because the story is already over and then we're just reflecting on how things went. Maybe we can make that conclusion. We must be fair, of course, to David. Now, I can't blame him. He understood more his situation than we do because we're not there. We don't know actually the situation. But as an interpreter of scripture, I would not endorse his action here that he should be running toward the Philistines. Was he being realistic at this time and anticipating what could happen? I think he was. Now, rather than asking the Lord, remember before he asked the ephod, which the Urim and Thummim will give him the answer if he should do one thing over the other. In this case, he did not. I don't know why. Maybe Ahimelech wasn't with, the Urim and Thummim wasn't with him at this time. All right? When we compare this in chapter 21, verse 10, we see him going back to Achish, king of Gath. Verse 2 first of chapter 27. So David and the 600 men with him left and went over to Achish, son of Maok, king of Gath. This happened 6 chapters before. That day, David fled from Shaul and went to Achish, king of Gath. David took these words to heart and was so much afraid of Achish, king of Gath. Because remember, the Philistines were their enemies. So he pretended to be insane in their presence. Remember the story. I'm not going back there. I'm just telling you that he has done this before. He was able to convince Achish that he was a crazy guy. Therefore, Achish did not harm him. He said to his people, send him away from my presence. There's enough crazy people around here. Don't give me a headache with this guy. So somehow David was able to escape from being harmed from the Philistines. Unlike in chapter 21, verse 10, David fled alone in chapter 21, but at this time, he was with 600 men. Now, that could be a threat. Diba? He was bringing an army with him. So how can he justify, I'm not crazy anymore, and I'm bringing with me 600 men, and we're all trying to seek refuge with you? Diba? Now, I wonder what Achish thought at the return of David. He's back here. And this time, David did not act like a madman. And David trusted Achish that the Philistines would accept him again and would not be threatened by the number of people who are coming with him. So imagine that. Remember, the first time that he went to Achish, he was very afraid. He was afraid of Shaul. He was afraid of Achish. But he'd rather stay with Achish because there's a possibility that he would spare him. And soon he went away from the Philistines. Now he's back there. So at this time, he's running away because he's again afraid of Shaul. But the author doesn't tell us, in this case, that he was afraid of Achish. We don't know. David could not run to any house of the prophet, unlike before. He went to Shamuel, he went to Ahimelech. Right now, there's no place where a prophet lives where he can find a refuge. Because Shamuel was already dead. Shaul destroyed Ahimelech and his town Noab. Remember that story? Now, one of the things that we need to note here is that Achish was the king of Gath. Do you remember someone David killed from Gath? It's Goliath. And remember, he was carrying his sword. I don't know what happened. Maybe Achish didn't recognize that David was using the sword of Goliath. Maybe somehow David covered the sword of Goliath for him not to recognize that it was actually the sword of Goliath. So David was afraid of Shaul and of Achish at the same time. The fear was driving David to make fruitless decisions and risky ones. He was risking himself and his men by going and seeking refuge to the king of Gath, Achish. Verse 3, David and his men settled in Gath with Achish. Each man had his family with him, and David had his two wives, Ahinoam of Yezreel and Abigail of Carmel, the widow of Nabal. When Shaul was told that David had fled to Gath, he no longer searched for him. All right. The author did not explain to us anymore how Achish trusted David and accepted him there. Now, it says there that David and his men settled in Gath. So what do you mean by settled? I think they made peace with the Philistines because Achish probably realized that David was a rogue Hebrew commander. When you say settled, they were being integrated with the Philistines. In other words, they have submitted to the government of the Philistines. They may have been considered defectors from Israel to the Philistines. Maybe something similar to becoming naturalized or asylum seekers. They have been granted status at this time. So maybe that's the case here. I'm just using modern terms for us to understand what really happened there. Now, David was able to accomplish his goal. Shaul wasn't searching for him anymore. He averted Shaul from chasing him. But at what cost? At the anger of the king. Maybe Shaul got so angry with David that he has become a part of their enemies. Of all the places where David could have sought refuge, why with our main rivals, the Philistines? And I guess David lost the respect of Shaul for doing that. So did David truly find peace and safety in Gath? Well, that remains to be known. Okay. Well, actually, the next few verses will explain this to us. Verse 5, Then David said to Achish, If I have found favor in your eyes, let a place be assigned to me in one of the country towns, that I may live there. Why should your servant live in the royal city with you? Now, David here was being very practical, being smart actually. Now, I think this was really a smart suggestion from David. Now, it would not be easy for them to completely integrate with the Philistine population, these 600 Hebrew men, with their families. David made that suggestion that there could be a special place for them where they don't have to have trouble mingling with the Philistines, but they know that they were under the Philistine government. Because if they mingled with the Philistine population, they could have experienced discrimination. Of course, this Philistine would doubt these men. One of these days, they could go against us. Maybe these are spies. Having their own place under the rule of Achish was a better arrangement. So, did Achish like the suggestion? We'll find out in the next verse. Now, perhaps the requested place would become a refugee camp for David. Let's see what happens in the next verse, verse 6. So on that day, Achish gave him Ziklag, and it has belonged to the kings of Yehuda ever since. David lived in the Philistine territory a year and 4 months. So that's about 16 months. Okay, so even though David made a bad decision by seeking refuge from among the Philistines, David got something good out of a bad decision. I think that's part of God's provision. Things can come out, some good, because of God, the grace of God. David got something out of a bad decision to live among the Philistines. By the power of God, Achish granted David his request. Wow, Ziklag. He got a very nice place for them. And it became a part of the territory of Yehuda in the future. Okay, so I think the author is trying to explain that David did not conquer Ziklag, but rather it was freely given to him by the Philistines. In verse 7, he lived in the territory of the Philistines for that long, 16 months. Did David think that he would live for that a long time? Remember, he was waiting for his moment to become the next king. So maybe if you're David, you're hoping that it will not be long for you to stay within their territory. But is 16 months long for you? If you were in David's place? Maybe. But at least God gave him peace for the next 16 months. And maybe during this time, David may have reflected upon his life and his future during this time of rest for him. This is what I can say about what happened here in verses 1 to 7. God was still at work in the life of David, even though he put himself at risk. All right? So, if you made a faithless decision and you put yourself at risk, keep on trusting the Lord. But next time, do not act or decide based on fear, but based on faith. Second point, continue to do the work of the Lord. Because we see here, David still doing what he ought to be doing, and that is fight the enemies of Israel. David actively fought battles for the Philistines, also benefiting the kingdom of Israel. Let's see what happens here in verses 8 and the following. Now, David and his men went up and raided the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. From ancient times, these people had lived in the land extending to Shur and Egypt. Now, where is this? This is by the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. So it is from a little bit north of the Philistine territory going down to Gaza, right? The present-day Gaza, actually, and then Egypt. Okay. So whenever David attacked an area, he did not leave a man or women alive, but took sheep and cattle, donkeys and camels and clothes. He returned to Achish. Now, let's try to understand what's going on here. There have been tribal wars among several tribes that live in that place. It's not just the Israelites versus the Philistines, but other tribes there. So we cannot say that when David raided the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, we know the Amalekites were their enemy even from Exodus chapter 17. So it was just right for David to challenge them. In fact, God was very upset with King Shaul that he did not exterminate the Amalekites. So what David was doing was actually continuing what they have accomplished for the past 200 years. Okay? So that's why David did this. It served as a double purpose. He was raiding in behalf of the Philistines, but the Israelites will benefit by what he's doing against the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. By this, he would gain the trust of the Philistines even further, right? And at the same time, he was continuing the mandate of the Lord to conquer the land, especially that they failed to conquer this territory for the past 2 centuries. I just want to read to you Joshua 13 verse 2. This is the land that yet remains. That means unconquered. All the regions of the Philistines and all those of the Geshurites. So David knew that even if he was in the side of Israel at that time, he needed to conquer the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. Was this action of David superfluous and too violent? I don't think so. Now, remember, this is war, and war is ugly. But then remember, God commanded Israel to drive out these bad tribes, these bad people. So that was what David was doing. Perhaps David found the opportunity to continue the work of the Lord, but at the same time gain the trust of the Philistines as they were conquering the land, although that the ancestors failed to accomplish. Honestly, war is ugly. War is ugly. But again, they deserve to be exterminated or driven out. Okay? Verse 10, when Achish asked, where did you go raiding today? So he was asking for a report from David. David would say, against the Negev of Yehuda, or against the Negev of Yerachmael, or against the Negev of Keni. Now, he didn't attack actually these tribes because these are part of their territories. David was lying here. He was attacking the Geshurites, Girzites, and the Amalekites, but when he reported to Achish, he was saying, I attacked the Israelites. He did not leave a man or woman alive to be brought to Gath, for he thought they might inform on us and say, this is what David did, because he was lying. Okay? And such was the practice as long as he lived in Philistine territory. So, in this case, because he's also trying to survive among the Philistines, David had to deceive the king Achish that he attacked his fellow Hebrews, fellow Israelites. So the loot that he got from their common enemies, so the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites were common enemies of the Philistines and of the Israelites. He was saying, I got this from the Israelites, but actually he got them from the Geshurites, Girzites, and Amalekites. So, do you think David was justified lying to Achish? Again, this is a tricky question. But again, you have to understand, David placed himself in such a situation, risky, that he had to lie. Otherwise, when he gets busted, Achish would have executed him. David had no choice. He had to protect himself and his people, And this is not your regular challenge. When you're at war, there's so many lies going on. Now, when we apply this in our regular lives, I don't encourage you to apply it the same way. This is in a context of war. That's a different rules engagement. David could not afford to leave survivors from among those he attacked, the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, who could tell Achish the truth, that they were not actually Hebrews or Yehudis, but they were the Geshurites, Girzites, and the Amalekites. All right? Verse 12, Achish trusted David and said to himself, he has become so obnoxious to his people, the Israelis, and that he will be my servant for life. So Achish felt more secure with David. So instead of rejecting David in the first place, I think Achish found this opportunity to have this Hebrew commander, an Israeli commander, to use this guy against his enemies. So that his own people would not have to fight their wars. Let David fight our wars. So he thought that I could accomplish things through this man. Do you know what obnoxious mean? Actually, when you look at the Hebrew word here, it literally means a bad smell. He smells bad to his own people. David stinks to the Israelites, to his people. Why? Because the Israelites have lost a great man and their future king. They now hate him so much. And they were very disappointed that their future king defected to their enemies. It's like a Russian defecting to the US or an American defecting to the Russians. That's the mortal sin that they could make. Achish considered David, his servant, not really a naturalized Philistine. He's not a Philistine, he's my slave, he's my servant. We know that this will not last long, right? Now, you could see that here, the author is giving us the thinking of Achish, right? Because this is his writing. So the author interprets the thinking of the king of Gath about the situation for us readers. That's how he wants to picture these things. Last part. Letter C, ask God to spare you from compromise. Now, this is how God worked to save David from this bad decision that he made, this situation that he placed himself. And I hope when you also find yourself in the same situation, that God would spare you. So in this part of the story, David would not be asking God to spare him from compromise, because we will not find here, God saved me from it. Maybe he did. The story doesn't tell us. Maybe he did. Nevertheless, learning from the experience of David, this is my suggestion for all of us. Ask God to spare you from compromise. So we will also be discussing chapter 29 here, which is only 11 verses. The Lord made a way for David to avoid conflict with his fellow Israelis and blew his cover as a loyal Israeli. He was not really a Philistine ally. All right, let's look at verse 28, verse 1. In those days, the Philistines gathered their forces to fight against Israel. Wow, my goodness. Maybe this is what David feared the most, that he had to fight against his fellow people. Achish said to David, you must understand that you and your men will accompany me in the army. You have to go with us. You're on our side, are you not? David said, then you will see for yourself what your servant can do. I think David is showing some pride here. Achish replied, very well, I will make you my bodyguard for life. So Achish was very comfortable with David here. All right. So again, verse 1, the dreaded moment for David has come. He will have to fight his fellow people. What would he do? This time, he may not be able to pretend his loyalty to Israel as the Philistines were there to set battle against the Israelis. Unlike previously, David would do his raid without any Philistine with him. He would just report back and give them the loot. He would do it with his men. In verse 2, look at how David answered Achish. Then you will see for yourself what your servant can do. He didn't say, oh, certainly I will go with you. Or certainly we will destroy the Israelis. He didn't say that. I think this is a vague answer. I think it was intentional for David to give a vague answer. Look at what he said there. What your servant can do. Can do what? It could be anything. Why? Was he telling the king, I can protect you? Or you will see what I can do, that I can actually turn my back against you.
Secretly backstab.
Yeah, right? The backstab, just like you said. But that's treachery, right? Yeah. Achish trusted him, accepted him, and protected him all this time that he was running away from Shaul. Now, that's really bad. Okay? But Achish made David closer to him. You will be my bodyguard for life. Now, was this good or bad for David? That he's got closer to Achish? I think he didn't want that, but he had to. Okay? Bodyguard. Dangerous. Well, Achish was actually in danger of David because, again, he could turn his back against the king. Was he putting the protection of his life, Achish, in the hands of David? Well, I think so. Or did Achish have a backup plan? If things went wrong, I can kill this guy because he's so close with me. Maybe to use David against the Israelis. This is your future king. I'm taking him hostage. Right? We will never know. We will never know. So the question here is, will David fight his fellow Israelis? Will he be treacherous against the Philistines? Let's see what happened. Now, chapter 29, verses 3 up to the end of the chapter talks about how Shaul was afraid of David. Now, we're not going to discuss it, but I would like you to see what's going on here. We're not going to discuss the whole chapter here. Now, Shamuel was dead, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his own town of Ramah. Shaul had expelled the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines assembled and came and set up camp at Shunem, while Shaul gathered all Israel and set up camp at Gilboa. When Shaul saw the Philistine army, he was afraid. Everyone's afraid here. David is afraid. Shaul is afraid. Terror filled his heart. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or Urim or prophets. So I just want to tell you that not only it was David who was fearful of Shaul, Shaul was fearful of the Philistines. That's why he stopped chasing David when he went to their camp. You know, this was all Shaul's fault. He went against the Lord, and therefore the Lord would not answer him anymore. Now, David, of course, he had the favor of the Lord. The Lord will answer David's prayer. This is a lesson concerning Shaul's treachery against the Lord. When you go against the Lord, fear will grip you.
Basically, it's too late. Basically, it's too late.
It was too late. It was too late. When Samuel anointed David, it was already too late for Shaul. The Philistines gathered all their forces at Aphek, and Israel camped by the spring of Jezreel. As the Philistine rulers marched with their units of hundreds and thousands, David and his men were marching at the rear with Achish. Now, of course, Achish had to protect himself, so he is at the back. All right? But sometimes what the king would do, they would be in front, and then when the fight begins, all the frontliners will overtake the king, and the king would remain behind. Okay? Look at this. This was a serious war. This is not a small war. They gathered all their forces. That's what it says here. Gathered all their forces, verse 1. That means this would be a large and intensive battle. Now, I'd like to show you the map here. So this is Aphek. So the Gaza Strip, that's the part of the Philistine territory. Let me show you another map for you to understand, because this is the modern map. Okay, can you see Aphek, the right dot there? And Jezreel here at the bottom right side. So there is a valley in between them that separates them before they could meet each other. So you can imagine they will meet in between. A large army was gathering in the western side, and a large also an army on the eastern side. Now, if Israel's leader, Shaul, was afraid, imagine how the soldiers of Israel were feeling, right? And if the enemy sees that their opponents were afraid, imagine how they will be really pumped up to destroy their enemies. Okay? Verse 3, the commanders of the Philistines asked, "What about these Hebrews?" Achish replied, "Is this not David, who was an officer of Shaul, king of Israel? He has already been with me for over a year, and from the day he left Shaul until now, I have found no fault in him. I have tested this guy. He has won so many battles for us. I know this man." Now, look at this. Finally, somebody spoke in verse 3. The other Philistines, they're concerned about David. They recognized that they could be in trouble by having David with them in the battle. Because if they didn't speak, Achish would not have made a move. Because later on we'll find that in the next verses, he would make a move. Achish defended David here. So what we can see here is Achish was an honorable leader here. He was faithful to David. He defended David from other Philistines. Now, the author is showing us how David convinced Achish to be a very loyal man to him. So David was a loyal man. Similar to how he convinced Achish that he was a bad man before in chapter 21. He was able to convince Achish that he was a madman. Now, we don't know if the Achish of chapter 21 is the same with the Achish of chapter 27, 28, 29. Because there's a possibility that Achish was a title or a dynasty. It could be possible that Achish 1, Achish 2, Achish 3, we're not sure. But let's just assume that he's the same guy. David was so convincing to Achish that the Philistine king defended him from the commanders. So what happened? Were the commanders convinced that David could go with them? Verse 4. But the Philistine commanders were angry with Achish and said, "Send the man back, that he may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with us into battle, or he will turn against us during the fighting. How better could he regain his master's favor than by taking the heads of our own men? Isn't this the David they sang about in their dances? Shaul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." So the Philistine commanders were not persuaded. They were not convinced with the defense of Achish, of David. They were forcing the king to remove David from the battle before things get bad. We see here the provision of God. David perhaps was praying, "Lord, get me out of this situation." But it was the Philistines who got them out of the situation. So that's why let us ask God to spare you from compromise when you have put yourself in a bad situation, even if it's your fault. And God could answer your prayers. Even before David were to face his fellow Israelis, there was a motion from the Philistines to have him removed. So we see the provision of God here to exclude David from the battle. So what happened? Verse 6. So Achish called David and said to him, "Do you think Achish would be mad at David? Look at Achish. As surely as the Lord lives, your God, you have been reliable, and I would be pleased to have you serve with me in the army. From the day you came to me until today, I have found no fault in you." He's still defending David. He's still trusting David. We see how honorable Achish was. Blessed was David to have Achish as his master back then, that he trusted him. David was blessed. "I have found no fault in you, but the rulers don't approve of you. Now turn back and go in peace. Do nothing to displease the Philistine rulers." You see here, Achish was blessing David to go, to leave. Achish showed how respectable he was and how he respected David. That he spoke of him nicely and to him honorably. He did not turn against David by the pressure of the Philistines. Achish was honest. The other Philistines don't want you. He didn't have to make excuses. Okay? So at last, Achish had David removed from among them. Why? Because David truly earned the respect of the king, Achish, that the king spoke of him and to him very well. David acted honorably. Verse 8, "But what have I done?" Now, I think this is part of the drama of David. It's not that he's pleading, "Let me stay with the war." I think he has to do some drama here. Ask David. Exactly. "What have you found against your servant from the day I came to you until now? Why can't I go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? Like, I'm excited to do this. I want to kill Israelis." I think he's trying to pretend here. So, whether you think David was pretending here, which is, I think he was, do you think it was smart for him to make this plea? "Let me go, come on. Don't remove me from this battle. Because what if Achish?" Yes, okay, come with me. Right? Kind of dangerous, right? He had to show that he was innocent, so that's why he had to make this drama. Otherwise, he would have been suspected as a potential traitor.
He's like, "Oh, okay."
As suggested by the Philistines in verse 4, four verses prior to this. So David had to plead for his innocence from the accusations of the Philistine commanders to cover himself further. He need to make that cover. Okay? He cannot be busted. Verse 9, Achish answered, I know, come on, David, I know you have been as pleasing in my eyes as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the Philistine commanders have said, he must not go up with us into battle. I can't do anything about this. Now get up early, along with your master's servants who have come with you, and leave in the morning as soon as it is light. Again, this is the provision of God. God was using Achish and even the Philistines to get him out of trouble. And again, David put himself in this situation. Achish showed how transparent and honorable he was. He let David go for his own protection. Now, I believe David would have to give the same respect to Achish if ever they would see each other in the future, because Achish has been good to him. However, there's no biblical evidence that they saw each other again. 2 Samuel made a general statement in chapter 8, verse 1, that David defeated the Philistines and subdued them. All right? Maybe at that time, Achish was already dead. We don't know. It was a general statement. So Achish let David and his men safely go for their protection. That was the answer to prayer. Right? This is the last verse. So David and his men got up early in the morning to go back to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. The war proceeded. But that was not the concern of the author. Finally, David and his men were removed from a compromising situation, a dangerous situation. They did not have to fight against their fellow Israelis. They did not have to be treacherous against the Philistines, right? Because that's dangerous. Who accommodated him and his men for 1 year and 4 months. The Philistines accommodated him. Gave him a city, Ziklag. But this is, again, I think, the hand of God. The Lord had spared David from a compromising situation. Do you think the story ended well? So, when fear drives you to faithless and risky action, because David was fearful of Shaul, he made a risky decision. I think a faithless decision and a bad decision to seek for refuge from among the Philistines. The advice is here, do not decide and act based on fear. Continue to do the work of the Lord. Ask God to spare you from compromise. Things to reflect. Have you ever made a bad decision, placing yourself in a compromising position? I think most of us have done this. How will you plead to God for His mercy to take you away from it? Will you be patient enough? Will you trust God that He will have mercy on you?